What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the BallGame podcast. I am the innocent bystander, Matt Sullivan.
I'm Ortiz.
I'm Chris.
I'm Trunks. I'm Dean. As you can see, these two are not here today. They are not dedicated. They are not as dedicated as us three here today to give you a Dynasty football mock draft. Outside of that, we're going to be talking about some other stuff, fantasy football related, some NFL news that has happened recently. Yes, we have not had a podcast in a few days, but we did release a couple videos this past weekend. Friday, we released a a video about the running back market and how it's kind of been relatively depressed as of late, last couple years. And then Saturday, I believe we released one of our previews for the divisions. Which one was it?
The AFC West with Drew and his Broncos.
There you go. So definitely go check both of those out and leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, follow us on all of our socials, all those good things. And why not jump right into it with the news from this past week of DeAndre Hopkins, one of the 10 best receivers. You could even argue 5 best receivers in the NFL, just signed with the Tennessee Titans. Big move, 2 years, $26 million with incentives to go up to $32 million for the life of the contract. I like it for the Titans. I think it makes a lot of sense. I was kind of surprised for D-Hop because the man was saying how much he wanted to win and stuff. And I'm not saying that he can't necessarily win, but I don't think this team is going to win a Super Bowl. But he got a bag at 31 years old. Good for him. Continue to make some money, probably put up some numbers there. But what do we think on both sides here? What do we think of it for D-Hop? What do we think of it for the Titans?
Well, I mean, the Titans, obviously, it's a win. You're getting a top 10 receiver in the NFL. Arguably has the best hands, as Chris and Joe Cruz did not touch on.
Yeah, that was rough.
So we heard about that.
Yeah, that was rough. On TikTok, yeah.
Yeah, but thing with D-Hop is I don't understand, like you said, why is he going to the Titans? Because as like you said, winning a Super Bowl is not in the Titans' foreseeable future.
It's a bag, and he's probably going to be he is the surefire number one there.
Oh, yeah.
There's no competition.
He's going to get his touches. He's going to earn every dollar he's earned. I mean, he's going to earn. Good one.
He is going to earn everything. Yeah, for sure. He's going to get about 100, probably 30, 140 targets there. But Chris, what do you think?
I think it's a win for both sides. I think people are underestimating how good this Titans team is, how good the scheme they have in place is, and how good Mike Vrabel is as a coach. We saw this team with A.J. Brown be very, very competitive, have Super Bowl aspirations. You're adding a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, who is probably better than A.J. Brown. It's tough to say right now because DeAndre Hopkins, he was hurt a little bit and then he was playing on a shitty team, but he's probably still better than A.J. Brown to a team who has Derrick Henry, who just played every game last season and was great in those games. Ryan Tannehill didn't look good last year, but who did he have to throw the ball to? His best receiving option was Chiggy. So You're adding a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. Mike Vrabel is going to put together a defense that's going to compete. No matter
they have pieces.
Yeah, no matter who the names are, but you have a guy like Jeffrey Simmons, you have Harold Landry. So you have guys who are going to wreak havoc in your front seven. And then you have a second-year player in, what's his name? The corner they drafted last year. I'm blanking.
It's Christian Fulton.
That's a couple years. Right.
I think it's his 3rd year, but
either Christian Fulton or Caleb Farley. One of them is a second-year guy. One of them is a 3rd-year guy. Whatever. You have some young names. You have Kevin Byard, who's one of the best safeties in the league. So you have pieces on defense. You have Mike Vrabel as your coach. You're adding one of the best receivers in the game. I think it buys Tannehill another season as a starting quarterback for sure. I think it's only going to help elevate this offense. And when you have a guy like Derrick Henry, anything's possible, especially in that division with the strength of schedule. You could win games. I think they're I'd still pick the Jaguars, but they are a dark horse to win the division. So I think it's a win-win. I think it's a good situation for DeAndre Hopkins. He's going to get his touches. He's going to, restore his name to all those, few people who were doubting him. And I think they're going to be a really competitive team, and I could see them winning a playoff game or two.
So I predicted they'd have 7 wins. I would be willing to say they'd be an above 500 team now for sure. And I mean, like you said, Mike Vrabel always somehow, some way squeezes a couple extra wins out of a roster that has no business winning as many games as it will. So, I mean, for all I know, they win 11 games, win the division, and give a lot of hell to a couple teams in the playoffs. So, I don't know. I think this is a great move for the Titans for sure. I think it definitely makes them far more legit. We shall see how legit. I'm so excited for football, though. I really am. It's getting me all hyped up, especially with all these fantasy drafts coming up. But yeah, so I mean, without further ado, as we say that, if you dynasty formats have actually become a lot more popular recently. We actually have our own dynasty draft. Me, Chris, and then Trincali and Dean are also in those. Ortiz did not want to be in it.
I did not.
Heard the understandably so.
After a season. So.
Oh my God.
Collusion. It's crooked league, honestly. It's a very crooked league, and no one should join it.
I don't know about all that, man. The
of
dynasty
course
league,
you don't, Mr. Collusion.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Everyone's traded me draft picks. It's not one person. Everybody has traded me draft picks. They have caused this league to turn into what it is now, which is me probably going to be running it for the next few years. But dynasty formats are super fun.
I'm coming, and I'm coming hard.
He's coming.
I'm busting a big load. When Marvin Harrison joins my team, it's going to change things. And not just Marvin Harrison and Drake May. They're going to change things. I'm going to trade Bryce Young. I'm going to trade Bryce Young for a running back. Fuck Bryce Young, honestly. He was just here just so I could trade him next year, honestly.
So someone's going to trade a running back for Bryce Young?
Maybe not a running back one, but we have guys. We have Javonte Williams. We have J.K. Dobbins. We have Rashad White. And we have Chris Olave. And we have
That
Chiggy.
is true.
And we have Chiggy. I'm coming. Like, I had a team that could compete and a team that probably still could compete, but I saw your team and you're set up for the future. And I want to compete in the future. I want to compete in the future.
Fair. No, that's fair. I get
Everyone else's team is set up for now.
Yes.
So you might not win this year, but in 3 years, no one's going to be able to compete with you besides me. And maybe Volpe.
People are loading up.
Volpe has a good team.
Yeah. Volpe does have a really good team.
Volpe wins every year from here on.
It doesn't make any sense why he's holding on to Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen in a one quarterback league. But I mean, it is what
for the transition of two.
Eventually, maybe it happens. Who knows? But for this format, for the mock draft that we're going to be doing, the Startup Dynasty mock draft, we're going to be doing one quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a regular flex, and then a super flex, which obviously includes quarterbacks as well. So Chris has the 3rd pick. I have the 8th pick, and Ortiz ended up with the 10th pick. And then we'll talk about some of the guys that we think in a dynasty draft we would prefer to have in certain scenarios and stuff like that. So without further ado, the AI is going to take over on the first overall pick here in our dynasty draft. So here we go.
Oh, my bad.
You're good. Okay, so it goes as expected with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase going 1 and 2. I mean, what else is there to say? There's really nothing else to say. They're locked in as the 1-2. And then with the 3rd overall pick, Chris, who are we going with?
So there's one guy who I'm a huge fan of. Dynasty, redraft, keeper, no matter what it is. This is a guy who I'm drafting. I'm drafting the shit out of him. If he is on the board, no matter where I am picking within the first round of any format, any league, I am drafting this motherfucker. And that's Bijan Robinson.
Yep.
That is my guy. That is my brother for life. He joins an Atlanta Falcons team who was number 1 in the league last year in rushing attempts, number 3 in yards, number 10 in touchdowns, number 4 in yards per attempt. They're coached by a guy in Arthur Smith who's going to get creative with his running backs. He's going to put his running backs in position to succeed, whether that's out of the backfield, running the ball, or catching passes. We know the talent Bijan is, generational talent, arguably the best running back prospect since Saquon. He could do it running the ball. He could do it receiving the ball. I'm taking Bijan Robinson to start my dynasty.
Is there a world that you think that he'll be 99.9% work, but that they let Tyler Algier gets some of the work and other guys take some of the pressure off.
100%. I think
because they should.
I think Cordero Patterson's still going to get work. I think Tyler Algier is going to get work. Those are two goddamn good players at football.
Really good players.
Those are good fucking football players. So, yeah, those guys are going to see the field. But I'm not going to be surprised if we see a split backfield with Algier and Bijan.
Agreed.
Or even Algier in the backfield and Bijan out wide, or Bijan in the backfield and Cordero out wide. Like, you could really mix it up with these guys. So, yeah, those guys are going to get work. But, yeah, Bijan should get most of the work.
Agreed. So after Chris picking Bijan, we have CeeDee Lamb, Patrick Mahomes, Christian McCaffrey, and Jalen Hurts after that. It's nice to see two of my Dynasty players go in the top 4, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
Nice collusion you got.
Anyways, I'm going to take so this is tough here. We have AJ Brown on the board, Jonathan Taylor on the board, Breece Hall, Josh Allen. And if it wasn't a super flex, I would go Jonathan Taylor here. But since it is, I'm going to go with the guy that's going to consistently put up QB1 type numbers, and that is Josh Allen. So after Josh Allen goes Jonathan Taylor, and now we are on Ortiz.
We're on you.
We are on
with the
top
10th
of it.
pick in the draft. I mean, he is projected to go 7th with his ADP. ADP is very important, but AJ Brown will always get his targets no matter where he goes. 26 years old, he still has 7-8 really good prime receiving years left in his career. So I'm going with AJ Brown.
Nice. So AJ Brown, Breece Hall, we're Garrett Wilson. I'm on Ross St. Brown, and now we are back to Ortiz. Does he go wide receiver? Does he take a quarterback?
I don't know. This is tough.
Does he go?
This is my
Saquon?
first Dynasty draft ever. This is tough.
I want to start a new Dynasty. I
One with
want to
no
be
collusion. One with
it's not even about the no
God.
collusion. I
collusion's allowed.
I want
There's
to be
no collusion.
I want to be in multiple Dynasty leagues. I've been asking around. Maybe I'll put it on the like the BallGame Twitter and see if anyone wants.
If
to
some
play
people want to do it, I'm in. For
I'd be
another
down
one.
to start another.
I'm
Dynasty.
hesitant on doing that, but I'd be in if
I like I love the Dynasty form. I love keeping my players
Yes,
and like
me
having
too.
a bond,
Having picks.
having a bond with my players.
Yes, I agree. I 100% agree.
Like, those are my guys.
Why
for
Bijan's
life.
my bestie?
Yeah.
Bijan's my bestie. All right, Ortiz, what are we doing here?
I might get clowned for selecting a quarterback. I don't know.
Definitely not. It's a super
It
flex.
is a super flex.
It is a super flex. I forgot about that. So with that being said, I'm going to go with a QB who most of my peers here have top 10 and top 3 in fantasy. I don't have him this high, but I feel Lamar Jackson is
Wow.
a great player to have on a
You
Dynasty
are
team.
taking Lamar.
I am taking Lamar.
Not Joey Burr.
Not Joey Burr.
Wow.
The rush ability is something
The
you can't.
rush
The rush
ability.
ability. That's it.
No, you're right. And then after Lamar goes Jalen Waddle. Okay. This is tough. All right. So there's one guy here that has my heart, and he's still on the board. I have to take him. And it's Saquon Barkley. I mean, I just have no choice. Even though he's 26, doesn't currently have a long-term contract with this team, but you know what? I have no choice. I'm going to take my. So after Saquon goes Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Jahmyr Gibbs, Stephon Diggs, and now we are on Chris. Chris, just asking, if Gibbs fell to you, would you have paired up the 2 first-round running backs from this year?
I probably would have.
Okay.
It would have been a conversation between Gibbs and this next guy who I'm gonna pick. And if it wasn't one of those two, if Jalen Waddle fell to me, his ass was getting drafted.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. That's
Yeah,
one of
for
my
sure.
guys. Love Jalen Waddle till the day I die. But I'm gonna go with another one of my guys, one of my brothers, who I feel like he's overshadowed a little bit by one of the other guys who came out in his class. And that's Chris Olave.
Yes.
I think Chris Olave was great last year. He went over 1,000 yards, only had 4 touchdowns. Saw a significant upgrade at quarterback this year, just like the other guy in his class. But you're getting him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spots later. So, yeah, I'm going to go with my guy Chris Olave here.
So a similar situation unfolds in redraft too, where Chris Olave gets drafted much later than Garrett Wilson.
We're gonna talk about that.
And yeah,
We'll talk about that when we get to that. So
after Chris Olave goes,
it goes Joe Burrow, Devontae Smith, Najee Harris, and Josh Jacobs. And I'm in an interesting spot here. So I have Bijan Robinson, he's my number 1 overall player in fantasy this year. I'm that bullish on Bijan Robinson. I have Chris Olave as a top 12 fantasy wide receiver.
Yep.
So you look at my start to my draft. Yeah, I have 2 young guys, but I also have a team who I feel like can compete this year. So why not add a guy who I think is almost a lock to be the number 1 tight end?
Yep.
If he's not the number 1 tight end, he'll be the number 2 tight end.
Mhm.
That's his floor.
Yep.
That's his floor, the number 2 tight
If
end.
health permits, yeah.
So that's a guy who's going to be an advantage at that position
No matter
every
what.
week. Every week, barring an outlier week. That's the only situation he won't be an advantage, is an outlier week. So I'm going to go with Travis Kelce here.
So last season, by the way, the only time there were 2 occasions that Travis Kelce did not score in double digits. 2 occasions all season. And he had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks where he went more than 20.
Right.
So Kelce is on another level.
After Kelce, the draft goes Devontae Adams, T. Higgins, Ken Walker, Travis Etienne, and now Matty J is back on the clock.
All right. So,
Interesting the way the draft board fell.
yeah, I don't like it. I kind of hate that Saquon is my RB1 in a dynasty. All right. So it is a super flex, and this is really bold, and this is going to take away from all of my other positions. But there's a guy here that we were talking about rushing upside before, and I think he could be QB1, and I think that is Justin Fields.
Oh, it's crazy. That was
As my
going to be my
super
next
flex.
pick.
Oh, for real?
I was going to go super QB.
Yo, Lamar and
I
Justin
was going to
Fields
go
would have
super
been
QB.
dirty. I'm glad I didn't allow
And
that.
Nick Chubb just
Nick
went.
Chubb right after.
No, I think that's a sick start though. Having Josh Allen and Justin Fields in a super flex. I've never played in a super flex league.
Yeah,
like
no,
I'm
me
gonna be
neither.
honest
Me
to
neither.
people watching and
I've
listening.
never done it either.
That's why I want to start a new dynasty, because typically dynasty leagues are super flex.
Yes,
we didn't do it
we
in
didn't do it.
ours, so we're fucked. But I want to be in a super flex league because a lot of people around the community are. So I think having Josh Allen and Justin Fields as your 2 quarterbacks is a win.
Yeah.
In
for
your first
sure.
3 picks, I think that's a huge win.
I think you could still find position players elsewhere in the draft to figure it out there.
You could find value at any position down the draft board.
Yes.
Especially in a
sure.
dynasty league.
For sure.
So for my next pick, I was going to go with these 2 players that actually were just drafted, with Justin Fields and Nick Chubb. That was my order of the players I wanted.
I was
to
thinking
draft.
between them 2 as well.
So I'm going to stick with the super QB idea and going for another QB who could be top 1. Floor, I think, is top 7 in
Okay.
Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is just we've seen one of the most skilled passers of the ball in the NFL.
Might be the best pure passer of the football aside from Pat Mahomes.
The arm strength is there, the accuracy is there, and the offense is there.
Yes.
He has a competent team around him. Will have a competent team around him for a decent amount of time.
We hope.
Hopefully.
So Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, DK Metcalf, and JSN follow up. I'm not even going to say his name. I just can't do it.
I'm back on the clock.
That is going to take some getting used to.
It's
going to
tough,
take some
man.
practice.
It's tough.
I'm going to go with my first running back here, and one of the big things with my team is versatility. So with Ramondre Stevenson, one of the better passer catching backs in the league, just a PPR machine.
So for everyone listening, before we continue to Matty J's next pick, if I was doing a dynasty startup and Ramondre Stevenson, no matter what my team looked like, if Ramondre Stevenson fell to me at the fourth round, at the 4-3, I am drafting his ass. I am jumping through the screen to draft his ass. Especially, because dynasty, it is about the long game, but also you want to win. Like at the end of the day, you want to win. It's going to be money leagues. If you can win the first year, that puts you at you're paying for the league for the next 5 years if you win the first year.
Yep.
So it's free money. Ramondre Stevenson's a guy who's going to produce this year. He is going to produce this year. He was great this year, one of the most efficient running backs in the league, on the ground, in the air last year. And then he loses a guy like Damian Harris in his backfield. So the workload is only going to increase. So that's a guy who, in any situation, he doesn't go this late in redraft. I know he goes normally in the third round, the beginning of the
which
third round.
Which I think is crazy too,
and
by the
end
way.
of the second round in redraft. But if you're getting Ramondre Stevenson in the fourth round of a dynasty startup, you draft his ass. You jump through the screen and you draft his ass.
I'm going to be honest. I've been super high on Ramondre, and not just because I have him on my dynasty team as well, but because of the fact that I think it's well within the range of outcomes for him this season to finish as close to the RB1. I really think it's in the range of outcomes for Ramondre Stevenson, even though recently I saw that they were talking to Leonard Fournette and stuff like that. If that happens, how much am I afraid of that? I don't know, but Ramondre Stevenson should get all the touches in that backfield, 100%. And now I'm left to 15 seconds. And I'm between two teammates, most likely. It's tough. Drake London and Kyle Pitts. It's incredibly difficult. I want the edge at tight end, and I'm going to do that and take Kyle Pitts. So,
if you guys didn't know, we love Ramondre Stevenson on this podcast.
Oh my God, I'm the biggest Ramondre Stevenson truther on the planet. Biggest Ramondre Stevenson truther. All right, and then the draft unfolds with Trevor Lawrence, Drake London, TJ Hawkinson, and Dameon Pierce after my pick, and now we are on Chris.
So with my next pick, I'm going to go with a guy who's entering one of the best passing offenses in the entire NFL, a guy who's going to be on the field. We know he was trying to save his dog, so he's probably not going to get in any trouble. We're assuming he's not getting in any trouble. I'm going to go with a guy to be my wide receiver too, a guy who I personally had higher going into the draft, and at this point in fantasy drafts, higher than Quentin Johnston. I'm going to go with Jordan Addison here.
I had him as my wide receiver 1 in this draft class. I personally thought he was the best route runner, and,
Yeah, I mean, his routes are insane. His hands are, above average, and he's going to play with a guy like Kirk Cousins, who's a well above average quarterback in this.
Kirk doesn't get the respect he deserves.
Right. Wherever you want to rank Kirk, but Kirk's a top half of the league quarterback, so that's only going to help a rookie wide receiver who's stepping into a role that's going to see high volume in a high passing offense. Yep. We saw the volume Adam Thielen got last year. He just wasn't effective because he was a shell of himself. Yes. So he's going to see volume. So
at least I'd say 90 to 100 targets, I would assume.
Right.
To be honest.
So then the draft goes Deebo Samuel, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, and Quentin Johnston. So I'm in a tough position. I see one of my guys on the board, but it's just so hard to draft him. It just really is.
After the injury. It's tough.
I'm going to do a thing here. It's super flex. You most likely need 2 QBs. I'm going to take the upside risk on Anthony Richardson here.
It's a good pick.
I just have to do it. It's a sad thing to not draft Javonte Williams there. He goes 1 pick before Matty J. The draft then goes Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy, and his teammate Javonte Williams. It pains me to not draft Javonte, but the injury just concerns me the slightest bit.
Yeah. No, I completely understand that.
If that dude didn't get hurt, he's a top round 2 pick in dynasty startups.
So this gets tough. Very difficult for me. I don't have a wide receiver yet. There's a lot of high upside plays here. That I think I'd be comfortable passing on one to take clearly what seems to be a team that I'm putting together that's, I guess, a win now team. I'm going to pair Saquon Barkley up with another older running back, but a guy that I think is going to produce big numbers this season, and that is Aaron Jones. So it's tough. A lot of these guys, it's so difficult to I was going to take Javonte if he was there. That was going to be my pick, but him getting drafted 1 pick before mine kind of takes away from that. Joe Mixon goes after me, and now it is up to Ortiz.
So, once again, versatility, big theme. That's me, the versatility guy. as we said, this is a dynasty league, and for the future is what the goal is. That's what we're playing for here. So I'm taking another running back here. Still my one receiver with AJ Brown, but letting a guy fall like this in the 5th round with his versatility, Alvin Kamara is just really good. I think the top 10 RB potential, obviously with the pass catching ability, and I think with Derek Carr
I don't
now at
disagree.
QB is just it's a way better situation for him that he had the past 2-3 years.
My only issue with Alvin Kamara is it seems that every season for the last, I'd say 2 years or so, maybe 3, his efficiency has fallen off, and it seems like he's lost a step. Is he still effective? Yes, no doubt. He's still one of the better running backs in the entire league, but it seems as though he's slipping just a bit, which scares me a little bit about Alvin Kamara.
Well, for my team's sake, I sure hope he's fine. I hope he
Following
doesn't lose a step.
Kamara, we got George Kittle, Christian Watson, Michael Pittman, and Calvin Ridley. Christian Watson's an interesting case study too in dynasty leagues, because if Jordan Love's any good, Christian Watson, if he gets a quarterback, can be a legit wide receiver 1 in fantasy football with his physical traits. It's unreal. But up to you again, Ortiz.
I'm just debating between these two players here. I'm going to I made my decision.
Go ahead.
I'm going to draft Brandon Ayuk here with my next pick.
Okay.
Another pick for upside, I feel. I need a receiver who can play now and in the future for me. Brandon Ayuk kind of fits that bill for me, and he may not be getting the targets that we may predict he's going to get, but he's on the field. That snap percentage he's on the field for every snap, and that's all it takes is a chance.
Agreed.
So
I love your start to your draft, Ortiz.
thanks,
I do
man.
too, man.
I think getting Lamar and Herbert, guys who, when you combine them both together, you're probably going to have an advantage over everyone else with your 2 quarterbacks, and then being able to get a guy like Brandon Ayuk as your wide receiver 2 in the 6th round while you have built those advantages at the quarterback position. I think that's a really, really solid start.
So I have a weird question. Why is team 9 on the clock and it's 30 seconds in?
Because you're on the clock and they took Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, you're on the clock.
That's
Just
so
exit
odd.
out and go back
Exit
in.
out and go back in.
Mhm.
Cool.
I could pause the draft if you need me to.
Now you're good. I'm back. Okay. So a guy that I've expressed that I'm high on, and I will talk about him more later for sure. So to get him here in the 6th round in a dynasty draft is unreal to me, and that is George Pickens.
That's your guy.
My God, George Pickens, 6th round of a dynasty draft. Couldn't have fallen better.
So the draft then goes Miles Sanders, Cam Akers, Zay Flowers, who I was most definitely drafting if he was there, Isaiah Pacheco. So the draft board falls in a pretty weird way here. In terms of sleeper ADP, the guys who are on top of the board right now are older players, are win now players.
Aside from Rashad White.
And I think when I drafted Travis Kelce, I was showing the league, I'm here to try and compete right now. So I'm gonna draft a guy who I think is as solid as a rock, man. The routes are crisp. He's gonna produce. I'm gonna go with Amari Cooper here.
Yep, that's if he somehow made it to me, I was gonna take him myself.
I think, with hopefully we'd assume an improved Deshaun Watson. I think Amari Cooper is definitely going to, again, this is Dynasty, so you got to take the ADPs with a grain of salt in terms of this year's production. But a guy like Amari Cooper at the 6'10", in terms of this year, I feel like that's really, really solid value. And then with my next pick, I have 3 receivers. I have a running back. I have a tight end. I have a quarterback. So I have a little bit of leniency here. I could kind of go in any direction. And honestly, I think I'm going to continue my trend of trying to put a team together that could compete right now. And I'm going to go with, actually, no. Hold on.
Ooh.
Hold the phone.
Ooh,
It's one flex, right?
yes. One regular flex, one super flex.
One flex of the super variety.
There's still some very interesting quarterbacks
So-
out there.
Take them all.
And Team 4 is not taking any teams.
I'm going to go with a guy who the past day has probably soared up draft boards. He's probably going to get all the work this year. I don't expect a huge year from him this year. I expect a solid year from him this year. One of the most efficient runners of the football in the league last year. Has what we think to be no competition in his backfield other than Damian Harris. I'm going to go with James Cook here.
I love James Cook.
I don't personally love James Cook, but I feel
love
like
the
at this point in the draft for me, there was no other pick. Considering it's only one flex, if it was two flex, I was going with a specific receiver there, a guy who got drafted. I was going with DeAndre Hopkins,
Okay.
but because it was only one flex, I decided to get my second running back out of the way there.
So this gets tough for me. Since it is one singular flex, it seems as though I haven't gone very young at running back, which is fine. But I'm going to kind of continue that trend with a guy who's going into his 5th season and doesn't have any competition in the backfield. By the way, let me just throw it out there. Jahan Dotson, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, and Dalvin Cook followed up. I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook's former teammate and now the man who is taking over that backfield, Alexander Madison, who I will speak about more later as well.
Ooh.
But I got to say, Amari Cooper is really just Mr. Questionable. The man is always questioned. He's literally questionable right now. Like as I click on his player, he is currently
he's
questionable.
Gonna play, though.
He's always questionable.
He's gonna play.
He's always on an injury report, but he just
that
plays.
motherfucker plays.
He plays
Yeah.
every week. He's always injured, but he's playing every week. It doesn't make any sense. He's always questionable.
He's never 100%.
Now on, Amari Cooper is known as Mr. Questionable. That's it.
Mr. Question. Looking at my team now, we're still building a really young core, and I want to continue that trend and taking hopefully one of the more dynamic handcuffs in the draft so far, and Zach Charbonnet. I just think if, God forbid, something does happen to Kenneth Walker and he is ineligible to play for the rest of the season, I think Zach Charbonnet is a excellent player to have to be a backup and to have him mold in your offense. I just think Zach Charbonnet, I don't know.
No, I agree. I think Zach Charbonnet, the player, is amazing. I think he's a very good player.
I'm interested to see what you do with this next pick
Yes,
after selecting Zach Charbonnet. Then
Jamison Williams, Devon Kane, Deshaun Watson, Tua Tagovailoa follows up.
I'm very sad that those two quarterbacks went. By the way,
I thought you were going to take Deshaun.
Those are my guys.
There.
I'm gonna stay with the young core. I've talked about this. That's a bit of a stretch.
Screw it, bro. It's a dynasty league. If you have a feeling, you take him.
You know what? That's a good point.
Because you'll never have the chance to get him again. It's not a redraft. You got to trade for his ass.
I'm going to go with another young. I'm going to go wide receiver this time. I'm going to go Jonathan Mingo.
Interesting.
I'm all about the future. We could win now if we want. Our team is capable of winning now, but give my team like 2-3 years, and then we'll be at our peak. No one's stopping us.
So Jonathan Mingo is a guy that I think he could be super productive this year, but it's all traits right now. In the same vein that we looked at Christian Watson kind of last year, Jonathan Mingo is kind of the same type of player where he's 6'2", 220, incredibly fast, but there's no route running ability yet. But we're going to see that's probably going to develop with Bryce Young. And if there's any sort of chemistry this season, then you know for sure there's going to be something there very soon.
Because on the Panthers, I think it's they're giving the keys to the younger guys in the franchise, like the Bryce Youngs, like the Mingos. I think they're going to work hard to make these players into superstars.
So exactly what you said, Jonathan Mingo being paired with a guy like Bryce Young, who we know is going to be accurate, who we know is going to be one of the better playmakers in the NFL right off the bat. That's only going to help a guy like Jonathan Mingo, who, as of right now, it's all the athletic stuff and not really the technical stuff that's going to make him look better. You know, Bryce Window is going to fit the ball into tight windows and all that. That rumble jumble. So before you make your next pick, man, I'm going to get my spiel in real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Ortiz, why I was curious about your next pick was because I look at your team, and I don't know if Matt's going to draft him here, but I might maybe give him an idea. I look at your team, and I see you drafted Alvin Kamara in the 5th. Yeah. I see you drafted Zach Charbonnet in the 7th. And I see a guy on the board who, even though you took those guys who were potential risks in terms of this year, obviously, especially Kamara, Zach Charbonnet is more of a future play, but in terms of this year, that's a risk. And in the 8th round, I see a guy on the board like David Montgomery, who could help me win this year while the Kamaras and the Zach Charbonnets are figuring stuff out. So me personally,
I have to draft.
Yeah, make your pick.
So it's Kendre Miller. Continue what you were saying, and then I'll go off.
Last sentence. Me personally, if I was in your position, David Montgomery would have been my pick there. But it wasn't. It's your team. I don't give a shit what you do. It's your team. I still think Jonathan Mingo is a good pick. Anyway,
so after myself goes Dalton Kincaid, James Conner, David Montgomery, Pat Fryermuth. I'll make it quick on Kendre Miller. So he was a 3rd round pick, incredibly talented coming out of TCU. I actually watched some film on Kendre Miller because I was hoping the Giants ended up drafting him. We didn't, but Kendre Miller is incredibly talented. Alvin Kamara, as I said, starting to decline. I'm not worried at all about Jamal Williams being there. I think once Kendre Miller is super healthy, he will absolutely have a role kind of similar in the vein of what Mark Ingram used to be for this team. And if you guys remember, both of those guys were fantasy viable. I think Kendre Miller, even after Alvin Kamara moves on, he's their guy. So I love him in a Dynasty league and in a best ball potentially this year. So
the draft then goes Dalton Kincaid, James Conner, David Montgomery, and Pat Fryermuth. So I said at my previous pick, I was considering drafting DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm so glad I didn't because I'm getting a guy at wide receiver who probably won't put up the same production, but can put up similar production, and allowed me to draft a guy like James Cook with a limited upside in the round prior. And when you look at my 4th round pick, Jordan Addison, like I said, my team has potential to win now. Jordan Addison might not be ready to win now, but I'm drafting a guy in Deontay Johnson. And you know, you look at Deontay Johnson, I mean, last year, the guy had what? The guy had, bear with me 1 second, he had 147 targets, and the man did not score. That dude is due for positive regression. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
3 years in a row, 140 plus. One of those years, 169 targets.
I know the hype on George Pickens is very real. He is a talented young fella, super athletic, super great hands. But Deontay Johnson has established himself as an alpha dog. That motherfucker is going to get open. He's going to get open, and he's going to force the quarterback to throw him the ball. The quarterback is going to throw him the ball because he's going to be that open. His hands have improved over the years.
Yeah.
His routes are insane. He's agile. He could sometimes make things happen after the catch. Deontay Johnson, man, I was never that high on Deontay Johnson, but this year in particular, I'm high on Deontay Johnson. I have 56 seconds left in my draft. I'm going with Bryce Young here. I'm just building the quarterback room for the future. 2 rookies this year. I have Anthony Richardson. Why not pair him with Bryce Young?
So after Deontay goes Darren Waller, Mike Evans, A.J. Dillon, Antonio Gibson. Chris takes Bryce Young. And then Kyler Murray, Mike Williams, Michael Mayer, Kadarius Toney. And now it is back to me. All right. So I kind of put myself in a hole. I don't have another receiver. I have a whole lot of running backs, but I have one singular receiver. I guess we're just going to go Young at receiver. And it gets relatively tough here, but you mentioned before earlier in this podcast, Kadarius Toney and how, or maybe we spoke about him prior to the podcast, but anyways, he's dealing with an injury. And I actually have this guy on my Dynasty team. And I think it's super interesting because his physical traits could allow him to become a #1 wide receiver at some point. And I'm taking the upside play on Rashee Rice. coming out of SMU as a rookie with Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback. I was thinking of taking Tyler Lockett, who actually gets selected right after me, but at this point, I'm just banking on upside.
So I'm next on the clock, and the draft went, as you just said, Tyler Lockett. Chris had me thinking before about saying how I'm taking these players who are not there yet. They're still developing into win now mode players. I'm going to take the bona fide wide receiver one in New England. I'm going to take Juju Smith.
Okay.
We saw what he did last year as the number 2. I think he had over 100 targets, and he's most likely coming out of the slot for the Patriots. And we saw Jacoby Myers, who just left, play out of the slot, and he was their guy.
He had exactly 101 targets last season in Kansas City. So, I mean, look, he's entering an offense that's going to need him to step up. That's going to need someone to step up. And then after your pick of Juju, David Njoku, Evan Ingram, Brian Robinson, Rashad Bateman, and now you are back.
I was looking at 3 of those 4 players for this pick. That's good. For my tight end, I think I'm going to draft him now. A guy like Dalton Schultz for a rookie quarterback in CJ Stroud is always the safety blanket. He might not have the most productive numbers, speaking that he is on the Houston Texans, but whatever value he is going to get or going to give is still top 10 tight end worthy in the league, and just a little edge to have over some people.
Fair. Dalton Schultz, Sam Laporta, and now it is back to me. This is a guy I was thinking of picking with my last pick, and this one's not so much an upside play as he's already 27 and he's been established in the league. He's had a 1,300-yard season at some point in his career, and I feel like he's getting forgotten a little bit this year. It's Courtland Sutton, and I will speak more about Courtland Sutton later as well. But after myself goes Gabe Davis, CJ Stroud, Elijah Moore, Khalil Herbert in the 10th round is interesting, and then Chris with the 10-10.
So this is a guy who I think in my situation, at this point in the draft, I just have to draft him. I'm going to go with Tyler Algier here.
Yeah, yep.
He had a very productive rookie season. The dude can ball. I mean, the first ever blind ranking, I don't know if you guys remember, first ever blind ranking we ever did on our TikTok was Tyler Algier versus Najee Harris from last year.
Yep.
And Tyler Algier, you guys all picked him. So Tyler Algier could ball. I drafted Bijan with my first pick. I had to make sure that dude was on my team. The draft then goes Cole Kmet, Michael Thomas, Roshan Johnson, and Josh Downs. I'm sad to see Josh Downs go.
Your UNC guy.
That's my guy. That's one of my guys for surezies. But at this position, I'm going to go with a guy who I think has shown me he could be an alpha, a wide receiver 1 in this league. I know the team just traded for a wide receiver 1, but this is a guy I'm super high on. I've been super high on coming out of the draft. Shout out to Bengal for putting me on. I'm going with Darnell Mooney.
Nice.
Coming off an injury this year, that's a guy who I really believe can be a wide receiver 1 in this league. If not a wide receiver 1, a damn good wide receiver 2.
Okay, so after Chris's pick goes Brandon Cooks, Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones, and Jamal Williams. I'm not going to lie to you. I was going to take Daniel Jones if he was here for me. I had to. I was going to because of my Giants. But now that he's gone, puts me in a bit of a tougher spot. I don't want to take another tight end, but he's staring me right in the face. He's 23. He was actually the most efficient tight end in the NFL last season. This is one of Chris's guys as he walks out, funny enough. That's Chiggy. That's Chiggy Okonkwo. What do you say?
He said, "Oh man."
It's Chiggy. Yeah, I'm gonna take him here. It's I don't need a tight end. I already took Kyle Pitts, but you know what? Might as well. Can never have too many tight ends. Everyone's gonna need one at some point. So after Chiggy goes Marvin Mims, and now it is on you, Ortiz.
See, I want to look running back here, but looking at the running backs that are available right now, it's kind of tough.
It is.
Like seeing a guy like Rashad Penny being the second best running back available kind of irks me.
But here's the thing: he could have a big season this year.
He can, but he's made of glass.
But he's so injury prone.
He is made of wet paper.
I can't even guarantee he's going to go for 5 games this year.
You can't.
I can't even tell you he's going to do that.
I've taken a whole lot of receivers. I get the trend might have to continue in all honesty. And this pick is a little bit of a reach. I probably could get him on the turn, but just to be sure, I want to draft my guy while I have the option. I'm going to take Alan Lazard with my next pick.
Okay.
Just the Aaron Rodgers connection hopefully lasts more than 1 year. Hopefully give me productive value for 2-3 years while he still has the chemistry.
That's a great pick.
There's some
Thanks,
interesting
man.
guys here, man. Some very interesting guys here.
And looking back at this now, back on my pick, the draft went Tajay Spears, Tank Bigsby, Rashad Penny, and Jordan Love. I need to take a running back. And I'm going to rely on another one who's also very injury prone, but when he does play, he is a game changer in Elijah Mitchell.
Yes. Agreed.
Before you pick Matt, I really like your draft strategy, Ortiz.
I think you killed it.
I think you're having
Thanks,
a really good draft.
Thanks.
I very much agree.
For a guy who's never played Dynasty before, like this is your first time doing this, I think you had a very you got a good mix going.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I fucking hate my team. I love your team. I think it's a great team.
Thanks, man.
I think as of right now, you have the best team. I'm not gonna lie.
So after Elijah Mitchell goes Jalen Hyatt, which was probably gonna be the guy that I was gonna take because I had to get a giant in here. But all right. So speaking of, how low is he? Anyways, I'll get back to that. It's tough from this point forward. It's very difficult to start picking guys here. I'm definitely looking at Sky Moore, but I don't think I'm going to take him. John Mechie's an interesting one, but I wish him the best with this whole situation. All right, I'm going to go for an upside play here too. As a rookie last year, he had 67 targets. He was playing with Aaron Rodgers. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Could end up being the number 2 in an offense there behind Christian Watson, or maybe even being better than Christian Watson, and that is Romeo Doubs.
That's a guy who I feel like just gets lost in the shuffle.
100%.
I got him in our Dynasty League. I got him as a throw-in, and I couldn't be more happy.
I would have loved that.
I think that's a guy who has potential. Like you said, he could be a number 2 who still produces, or the ceiling is a guy who is the number 1 receiver, the number 1 option. So yeah, Romeo Doubs at this point, what are we in the 12th round?
12th round.
12th round, taking a flyer on a guy like Romeo Doubs. Why the fuck not? Why the fuck not?
Agreed.
So with my pick here,
it's just flyers at this point, by the way, guys. If you get to this point in your Dynasty draft, you just take as many upside plays as possible. A couple will hit.
I bet like 80% of people are probably auto drafting by this. I mean,
I
don't
don't know. Not in a Dynasty.
Yeah, I'm
not
saying
in a
if it was a 1-year league, then
100%.
Draft,
a lot of people
everyone's auto drafting.
Right. So the draft then goes Greg Dulcich, Sky Moore, Chase Brown, and Damian Harris. So I drafted Travis Kelce. I'm gonna maybe take my replacement when Travis Kelce decides to hang them up. Maybe he's not the replacement, but I'm gonna go with Luke Musgrave here from the Green Bay Packers.
I like that.
Probably gonna be the tight end one. Maybe if not this year, probably by next year. So I'm gonna take the shot there.
Okay. So after Luke Musgrave goes Kirk Cousins, Odell Beckham, Trey Lance, and Ezekiel Elliott
in round 13.
Zeke and Odell Beckham in the 12th and 13th rounds. Wow.
So people might not like this strategy I'm going to deploy here. People might say, Chris, take a skill position here, but I have a team that can compete, but I have 2 rookie quarterbacks. That's maybe a little bit of a cause for concern in terms of competing for this year. And I see a guy who, where did he finish last year? Let me pull it up real quick. He was the QB 10 last year.
My boy,
and
Jared
probably
Goofball.
Probably an improved offense. You know, you add Jahmyr Gibbs, you add David Montgomery, who probably probably are better as a combination than Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. So I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
Jared Goff here. Who, if Bryce Young and or Anthony Richardson don't work out, I have an insurance plan. I drafted Travis Kelce in the 3rd round, so I'm trying to win games. That's a guy who I think will help me win games.
So after Jared Goff goes Samaje Perine, Devin Singletary, John Mechie, and Jaden Reed. And now this leaves me with a lot of decisions. Wow, this gets super tough. After about the 10th round, it's like, wow, what do I even do anymore? Okay. I have an idea for who I want to take later in the draft. It's just now's not the time. So, all right. I definitely need a guy that can potentially help me win right now at the receiver position. And it's in the realm of possibility that he ends up with something like 100 targets. I don't love this pick because there is competition there, but I'm going to take Jacoby Myers. And it's with Jimmy Garoppolo. Rondo Moore after myself, and now it is Ortiz's turn.
Looking at my team here, could use another running back. I feel doesn't hurt to have another running back. My next pick, I'm going to take Deonta Foreman. Has the split backfield right now with Khalil Herbert with the Bears,
and Roshan.
But hopefully, I just a breakout because once again we're in the 13th round here, so we're kind of grasping for just upside players. Hopefully, he wins that.
He had
one
games last year where he was unreal. Like, here we go. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games last season where he had over 100 rushing yards, one of which being 165.
And you know what's crazy? He was RB2 that week. I'm looking at his stats now.
Yep.
Well, that's a guy who it seems like for the past 3 years, whenever he does get the bulk of the workload, he's going to produce in fantasy.
I'm looking at the snap percentages now. I mean, every time they're in yellow, it's always green.
Yeah. So whenever he
the
gets
RB
more
ranking.
than like 20 carries, he's averaging around 4.8 plus yards per carry. Like, it's kind of unreal. He's one of those guys that the more you hand it to him, the better he's going to be.
He just wears out the defense. He's a man amongst boys, that dude.
He's a large human being.
Oh, wow, I'm back on the clock. I wasn't even paying attention. Look at that. I forgot that's how drafts work.
6 foot 235. Oh boy, Ortiz, who we got next?
This is a player who I probably, if we actually were to do this league, I could probably add him from the free agent pool. But speaking that this is not that scenario, I'm going to take another tight end here and someone who I think is a very boom type of guy in the boom or bust role. It's Isaiah Likely, the backup to Mark Andrews for the.
I like that.
Whenever he did play,
whenever he got an opportunity,
he was very good. And this so far in the preseason, well, the preseason started, but last preseason he was very productive. I think 12. I think so far in the 4 games he played in the NFL, like 13, 14 catches.
One of the rare handcuffed tight ends.
Yeah.
Ortiz, I'm not going to lie, bro. You're bringing a tear to my eye. I think you're having an awesome draft.
My words don't work, but look at the board. That's all that matters.
I think you're drafting an awesome team, dude.
So we're talking about handcuffs at different positions aside from running back. There's one guy on the board right now who's probably the best handcuff at the receiver position in the entire league. And it's Tyler Boyd. Anytime one of T. Higgins or Jamar Chase does not play, Tyler Boyd is a top 20 wide receiver in fantasy football. That is fact.
Of all time.
Of all time. But yeah, so Tyler Boyd, another guy that if anything happens, God forbid, but if anything happens, pretty consistent wide receiver to have in your squad.
So the draft then goes Donovan Peoples-Jones. Shout out to him. Dawson Knox, Jerick McKinnon, and Luke Schoonmaker from the Dallas Cowboys. I think the draft lines are perfect for me. I'm going to go with a guy who I think has another rookie, has a super impressive college tape, has only one guy in front of him in the backfield who is kind of aging. He never really saw his opportunity, so he doesn't have that many miles under his legs, I'd say, but he is getting up there in age. So I'm going to take his backup, a rookie. I'm going to take Dwayne McBride from the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
The draft then goes Zachary Evans, Kenny Pickett, Trey McBride, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and the draft went exactly how I wanted it to go. I'm going to take a guy who should not be going this late, a handcuff to a running back in a team that's going to run the ball. They're going to give their running back touches, whether it's running the ball or through the air. I'm going to go with Jalen Warren here from the
Agreed.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
He's really good, by the way. Like, actually,
Yeah, I mean,
a
with my
really
last
good
pick in
running
the
back.
draft, why the fuck not? Why the fuck not?
So I said before I was going to take a running back. I mean, a giant. I don't know how I went from that to that. That's crazy. I said before I was going to take a giant, and there's a giant all the way down at 211 in the fantasy rankings. And I think it's crazy that this man has been disrespected as much as he has, given how much he produced after he became a giant. And then cooked Patrick Peterson on a fractured ankle, by the way, might I add. Isaiah Hodgins. Put some respect on Isaiah Hodgins' name, man. He's a talent. He is one of a kind. Well, not one of a kind. Like, he's 6'3", and he runs super crisp routes. He's not the fastest dude on the field, but he's got amazing hands, and he's an incredible route runner for his size. It's about damn time we put respect on Isaiah Hodgins' name.
My next pick here, I'm actually going to go with a rookie who I am actually not too familiar with, but looking at his outlook on Sleeper, it's kind of crazy that this guy and his stats, Tank Dell is who I'm taking my next pick here. How he led the nation in receiving and touchdowns in 2022. Just a game changer, it seems like. And young quarterback, young wide receiver. Hopefully that chemistry builds.
Yep.
Tank Dell.
Yeah, it's so funny that his nickname is Tank, and he's 5'10",
165.
165.
Oh, there's 16 rounds? I
Yeah.
thought there was 15. My,
And,
my apologies.
One more.
It's all good. With my last pick, I'm going to go with a guy who was mentioned before as a damn good football player. Cordell Patterson still on the board here, and I think it's kind of criminal not to take Cordell Patterson in a fantasy draft, especially when we're in the 16th round. Just a player who
Shout out the greatest returner, second greatest returner ever.
Just the versatility, team versatility. We're back again.
All right, so this is my last pick of the draft, and there's options. There's a bunch of options. And I feel like I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't just take a shot on a player here. So you know what? Here's a guy that, if all goes right, if health permits, keep this name out there and keep this name in your head. It is Justin Ross of the Kansas City Chiefs. Back in college, this man was looked at as a future first-round pick until a bunch of injuries hit him. And now he's just a 6'4" guy that isn't getting that much of an opportunity at the current moment. But hey, Kansas City needs some wide receivers now, and he's been showing out apparently. Just throwing it out there. Keep the name Justin Ross in your head on the fantasy football radar.
So the draft then goes Michael Carter, who I would have drafted in here 100%. Jerome Ford, Jeff Wilson, Kenny Gainwell. I'm going to take another rookie, a rookie wide receiver. New England Patriots. Doesn't seem like there's that much competition in that receiver room. I'm going to go with Kayshon Boutte.
Kayshon Boutte was another guy that was expected to be really, really, really good. And then just didn't work out in his last couple of seasons in college. But
draft then goes Eric Cole, and the last pick in our mock Dynasty startup draft is Mike Gesicki, the gritty man himself.
I love Mike Gesicki, and I think he has potential to be like really good in fantasy football this year. But you know, it is what it is.
That was fun.
That was
a good draft. I think we all made out pretty well.
Yeah,
we all drafted well, and at least the bots didn't draft stupid like they always do, and they take like 3 quarterbacks in a regular league.
Yeah, they honestly didn't do bad with most of these.
Because I've been doing mock drafts with my my BTB pick at 8, And it's just so stupid when they take they take 3 quarterbacks in the first 8 rounds. I'm like, oh,
All right.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Team 1's quarterback is currently Trey Lance, and their super flex is
It's
Keenan
Kenny.
Allen.
And
So-
they also have Kenny Pickett. Don't forget about him.
That's yeah, Kenny Pickett, yeah. Trey Lance though. Slot 2, pretty solid squad. I mean, Antonio Gibson's their running back too. Outside of that, not the worst thing I've ever seen. Chris's team: Anthony Richardson, Bijan Robinson, James Cook, Chris Olave, Jordan Addison,
My
Travis
team's pretty
Kelce,
fucking loaded. I'm not gonna lie.
Amari Cooper, and Deontay Johnson with his bench looking like Bryce Young, Tyler Algier, Darnell Mooney, Luke Musgrave, Jared Goff, Dwayne McBride, Jalen Warren, and Kayshawn Boots.
My team's pretty fucking loaded. I'm not gonna lie. I think I had a really solid draft.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. Look at slot 4, bro.
Yeah, he bodied it.
This team is crazy.
Wow.
This team's crazy. Kyler, Damian Pierce, Isaiah Pacheco, CD, Stephon Diggs, Pat Fryermuth, Devontae Adams, and Terry McLaurin. Okay.
Some starting.
Slot 5
Team
literally
5's
has
pretty
Detroit.
sick, too.
Literally has Detroit's backfield.
Bro, team
Yeah.
5 having Mahomes and Rodgers as their 2 QBs.
Yeah.
Pretty nuts.
Yeah. With DeAndre Hopkins, Zay Flowers, TJ Hawkinson, D. Higgins, DJ Moore.
Oh my god. Some of these teams really drafted well, bro. Team
Slot
6 is
6, Jesus.
insane. Team 6 is insane, but you gotta remember it's super flex.
Like, but that's the thing. CJ Stroud and Daniel Jones might not be the worst thing ever in a
Yeah.
dynasty. Like,
You have fucking McCaff Cooper Cup, bro.
and Kenneth Walker,
It's like
Drake
my old
London,
dynasty team.
Jerry
McCaff and
Jeudy,
Cooper
Cam
Kupp.
Akers. Oh
What a
my
time.
God. All right, slot 7. Slot 7's pretty solid. Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts with Tyreek Hill, Javonte Williams, Travis Etienne. Slot 8 is me. My team is pretty mid.
Your
honestly.
receivers are tough.
your receivers.
Yeah, it's all upside on my receiver room right now.
Yeah. It's the upside if they just get lucky and get the ball.
Look, I think Cortland Sutton and George Pickens could work it out for this season. I think one of the two of them could be pretty solid, but like my running backs are pretty fire.
So if you want me to be honest with you, just my opinion,
I have the worst team of the 3 of us.
that round 5 taking Aaron Jones when Christian Watson, Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin,
I was
Amari
thinking
Cooper,
Christian Watson too.
Zay Flowers were all still on the board. I think that's where you fucked up.
I agree.
I think you could have gotten a better, not better than Aaron Jones, but a solid enough running back. I think I like George Pickens, not as much as you do, but I think having George Pickens as your wide receiver 1 is a little bit of a concern.
No, I agree. I
But
agree.
Slot 9.
I think that's the one pick where I think everywhere else you got good value. I just think that round 5 you kind of sold the bag a little
That's
bit.
fair. Slot 9's team is very solid. Ortiz, your team is.
Oh my God, slot 9 teams running backs are nuts.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor and Nick Chubb is
Yeah.
wild.
and he has
And Tony
Pollard.
Pollard,
Yeah,
Joe Mixon.
yeah, that's nuts.
Jesus. Oh my God. Geno Smith and
Nah,
Dak
that dude
Prescott
drafted-
are his quarterbacks. Oh my God. Jalen Waddle. Traylon Burks is right.
That might be my favorite team out of all of them, honestly.
Ortiz, you really body this though. Lamar and Justin Herbert, Ramondre Stevenson, Alvin Kamara, AJ Brown, Brandon Ayuk, Dalton Schultz, Zach Charbonnet is your main flex. I don't think you'd be starting him.
No,
But you have Juju, you have Lazard, you
Yep.
have Elijah Mitchell, you have Deontay Foreman, you have even a guy like Cordell Patterson who you took at around 16. You have all these guys who could.
super upside.
One of those guys is going to be a solid flex with your starting lineup. I think out of the 3 of us, you had the best draft. I'm not gonna lie. I think you won the draft. between
Slot
the 3 of
11
us.
is also kind of fire. Oh
Whoa.
my.
Oh my God.
Oh my.
I don't like that team that much.
I like
like
this
that.
team a lot.
I like some of the other teams more.
than slot
It's
12
definitely a
is
good
rough.
team.
Slot 9 is probably the best team. Slot 9
I
is
think
probably
slot
the best
Slot
team.
9's crazy.
Slot 9 or slot 6. Those are
Yeah.
the 2 that I think have the
Gino
best
and
team.
Dak as your fucking flexes with these guys is crazy.
Oh, that
is
was fun.
Crazy. That was a good time.
4 is also really good.
4 is very
also
good.
tough.
4 is very good.
Wide receiver room with CD, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, and Terry McLaurin.
Anyways, you guys let us know who you think had the best draft as well.
If I was slot 4 in that 7th round, after I drafted McLaurin and Pacheco, I would have drafted James Cook. before
Agreed.
I drafted him instead of
But
Jahan Dotson. That's my only
James Cook got drafted right before him.
Oh, that was before him. I
You
drafted
took
him.
James
My
Cook.
bad.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
bad.
You
my
took
apologies.
James Cook right
Even to
before him.
David Montgomery. I would have just went running back there.
Or an
with that
Alexander Madison in this
Dotson.
case.
Yeah, with that Dotson pick. That's my only concern with Team 4. But that was fun.
That was very fun. As I said, let us know who you think had the best draft out of all of us.
I'm getting the draft screen off the.
We're going back to full screen here. But yeah, that was incredibly fun. I hope you guys do start up some Dynasty fantasy football leagues and stuff like that. Let us know how those go for you, what your drafts look like. We'd love to see them. Hell, we'd even rate some drafts if you guys want us to do something like that.
I think I'm going to start a league. I think I'm just going to start a Dynasty league with
feel-
whoever wants to join it. If I can't get enough with whoever my friends are, I'll put it out on Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that for you guys.
Okay, well, there it is.
You guys all know we're having the 32-man league. If you don't know, we're doing a 32-man league.
Don't know, now you know.
If you don't know,
Yes,
now you
sir.
know. 32-man league, no buy-in. The winner gets a jersey of their choice. If one of the 5 of us come in last place, that is a spin on the punishment wheel. All you have to do is show us proof that you're subscribed to us on our YouTube, follow us on Instagram, repost one of our Instagram reels or something of that matter, and there you go. You're entered. It's no QB, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, 1 regular flex, 1 super flex. It's a tight end premium league. Tight ends are 1.5 PPR. Everyone else is 1.0 PPR.
Yep.
So let us know if you're interested in that.
Going to be a hell of a
Travis
lot of
Kelce
fun,
won
by the
one.
way. It's going to be a
Definitely gonna be
hell of
interesting.
a lot of fun. 96 receivers will be actually, it's 2. It's 2 wide receivers. 2, not 3. 3 is crazy if it's 3. 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. Still 64 receivers are going to be drafted and started, if not more, because of these flexes and stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be a super fun league. Nobody's team is going to be good. So it's just going to be a shit show pretty much, but it's going to be a fun shit show.
There's going to be some good teams because obviously someone has to win.
Yeah.
Fantasy football is all about luck, but especially a
Imagine a
32-man league. That's all about
You have
luck.
1 injury, your team is done for the rest of eternity.
Nah, it should be fun though. It should be a good time. Hopefully it's active.
Yes.
Hopefully people are making trades and stuff like that. Obviously, like when I told Lav to make sure, I texted Lav last night. I made sure Lav was in the league before we filled it out because we couldn't do it without Lav, obviously. But he said to me, you guys are going to do weekly updates on the podcast, right? I said, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Like, of course.
We have to.
Yeah.
Every week.
We're going to shout out like the highest scorer in the league.
Every
all
Tuesday.
That fun
Every
stuff.
Tuesday
We're doing it on
podcast.
Sleeper, right?
Yeah.
Shout out Sleeper, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, shout out Sleeper.
Thank you, Sleeper, for any of the ADPs we use, the mock drafts that we use. By the way, Sleeper, please
Not sponsored,
sponsor
by
us.
the way.
Please
Please
sponsor us. We're not sponsored, so please sponsor us. We'll be in touch. But anyways, yeah. It's going to be super fun. Definitely join it. And as we said, no buy-in, and there's a potential prize. So there's no harm in joining. You guys wouldn't get punished. We would
get.
So that's even more entertaining.
Or imagine that we spun the wheel and just for some random person that joined the league, and we
Bro, sleazy. Sleazy, if you're listening, if you get last place, you're gonna spin on the
getting a
bench.
punishment wheel.
We're gonna
You
hunt
definitely get a
you
punishment
down.
wheel. Or if it's Lav. If it's Lav, you're on the punishment wheel
Lav,
too.
I know sleazy.
If it's anyone that we know that comes in last, we will hunt them down and make them spin the wheel.
Including my cousin. Any of my cousins, all 3 of them that are in this goddamn league.
Frank Sperado.
Oh, speaking of Frank, Frank's in the league too.
Frank Saja.
You know what? Everyone is available to get punished now.
Yeah,
Everyone
we
is
have a
especially
few
Frank.
We have a few spots left, so definitely hit us up if you guys want to get in that.
Join up, guys.
Yeah.
It's not hard to join. Just subscribe, repost, as Chris said, all that stuff. And follow us on all of our other socials too, by the way, not just Instagram. You don't have to, but we'd appreciate it. But anyways, there is more fantasy football for this episode. It isn't quite over just yet. As I said, the ADPs that we are using are going to be with sleepers. So this is a segment that we're gonna say who are 5 guys that you would draft above their average draft position? All right, so we'll start with that.
I'll get it started.
You gonna give all 5 or no?
No, I'm just gonna give one.
We'll go one at a time and talk about them.
So off the rip ski, I got a guy in Drake London. Drake London's getting drafted at 53.9 right now, according to Sleeper. He's a guy who saw over 20% of the target share last year. You expect that offense to improve. I mean, I'm a Falcons guy. That's my squad. I'm a fan. You expect that offense to improve with the addition of Bijan, with just all the young guys developing another year like a Drake London. So I expect that dude only to get better. I mean, you have guys like Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave who are in that class going in the end of the first round, beginning of the second round, and you have his peer in Drake London going, what, 54 is what the
54 is the middle of the fifth round.
Middle of the fifth round. That's a guy who, he's going to be a threat in the red zone. He's going to see a bunch of targets. So, he's going behind guys like DJ Moore, like Terry McLaurin, like D-Hop. Those are guys who, on paper, they're better than him. They're better. They've proven more than him. But if you're going to tell me I'm crazy for saying Drake London could have a better season than those guys, you guys are crazy, honestly. So that's my first guy.
Agreed.
I'll go with the next player. This is just the player I feel like I'm very biased for. I feel like I'm always either reaching for this guy, but Alan Lazard is one. I feel like I say his name every episode now. Alan Lazard is just one of those guys, especially now with the chemistry with him and Aaron Rodgers going into that room. Obviously, Garrett Wilson is the number one in that room. There's no question for that. But Alan Lazard could play a really close number two for a really good Jets offense. Just time will tell.
Fair.
I have him going at a 121.
Okay, so it's tough for the order of the guys that I want to pick. But I'll start off with a guy that has been heavily slept on this year, and I feel like this just happens almost every year now, but especially so this year. His quarterback situation is a little rough, but this man has never had a season in the NFL that he hasn't had 1,000 yards. And he's getting drafted in the middle of the 7th round, and that is Mike Evans with the 77.6 ADP. Getting drafted in the middle of the 7th round, and I understand. I get it. Trust me, I get that Baker Mayfield is his quarterback. But listen, if Dean was here, he'd be talking up Baker Mayfield, but you're not. So anyways, I'm big on Mike Evans. Baker Mayfield likes to take his risks. I don't know how long he's going to be the quarterback. Mike Evans is one of those guys that it's a big boom or bust game from him. He could have 35 or he could have 5. And look, I'm not saying that he's going to be your wide receiver 1 with an ADP of 77.6. If he could be your wide receiver 3 on your team, you're in pretty good shape. So I think Mike Evans is being drafted way too low for his production throughout his career. So
there's one on my board too.
Yeah, he's a baller. He's always been a baller. So it's hard not to take him earlier than that.
So my guy at number 4, I actually have 2 guys. I cheated this a little bit. I put 6 players, but at number 4 in particular, I put 2 guys. And those 2 guys are Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields.
I have Justin Fields too. Sick.
So Lamar Jackson's ADP currently is 35. So that's the end of the 3rd round.
Yes.
Yep.
And then Justin Fields is a 45.5. So pretty much the end of the 4th round. So if I'm drafting at the end of the 3rd round and Lamar Jackson's on the board, I'm drafting him. If he's not there, and then I'm drafting at the end of the 4th round, and Justin Fields is on the board, you best believe I'm drafting him. These are 2 guys who could potentially be the two highest rushers at the quarterback position in the NFL this season. I've spoken about it a few times on this podcast. Lamar Jackson's my QB1 this year. I expect huge, ginormous, mega things from Lamar Jackson this year. So this is more about Lamar Jackson, but I had Justin Fields there as an insurance type of thing. I think this year in fantasy, you should be trying to get one of those high-end quarterbacks. I think in particular with how deep the running back draft is and how you could get guys later on, unlike any other year I've personally seen in my years doing fantasy, you want to make sure you get a top-end quarterback. So those two guys, me personally, I'm walking away from every draft I do with one of those 2 guys. If it's not Lamar, I'm taking Justin Fields. Those are 2 guys who both have the potential. If they hit their ceiling, that's the QB1. It's as simple as that.
I agree.
If either one of those guys, if they hit their ceiling, that's the QB1.
Yep.
So
to piggyback off that a bit, I also had Justin Fields written down on my list. But just like you said, it's the ability, it's the rush ability. Is that word again? Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson in this case are just two extremely efficient runners of the ball, and their speed is game changing. Their arms are getting there. Lamar Jackson has been proving little by little to all the haters that he could consistently throw the football. Justin Fields, same thing. Just these are the elite quarterbacks to have in the drafts.
Fair. Okay, so another one. I mentioned him before. I drafted him before. A lot of these guys you're going to see, I actually drafted most of them in our Dynasty mock draft. That is the guy that is currently RB22, 61.5 ADP, and it seems like he has absolutely no competition in his backfield. That's Alexander Madison. Not only is Alexander Madison far more effective, obviously, when Dalvin Cook is not playing in the game. He actually averages nearly 17 points per game, and he's consistently one of the 15 best fantasy football running backs when Dalvin Cook is not playing. Clearly, that means the opportunity is there. This is one of the most high-powered offenses in the entire league, and in this case, you don't have a quarterback that's going to QB sneak into the end zone a million times. And being that he's 5'11", 221 pounds, I'd assume he's probably going to have quite a few touchdowns this season as well. I think it's well within the range of possibilities that he's an actual RB1 in fantasy football. And I think he's getting drafted far too low, being that he's in the 6th round in this case, I believe, or maybe in the middle of the 5th. But anyways, I think it's just far too low for a guy that could potentially be your RB1. And if low end of outcomes is probably a middle tier RB2. In my personal opinion. So definitely draft Alexander Madison. Here we go, Chris, number 3.
So my number 3 guy is a guy who I currently have ranked as my number 7 wide receiver in fantasy football this year. And that is none other than DK Metcalf.
Yep.
DK finished last year as the wide receiver 16. Wasn't that great. A wide receiver 2. But when you look at DK Metcalf after the Seahawks bye week in week 11 last year, he had 1 week where he finished with less than 8 targets. So you might say, well, Chris, they drafted JSN. That's going to take away from DK's targets. I look at it in a completely opposite way. I think they drafted JSN to take over the middle of the field, to draw the linebackers, to draw the safeties away. And DK Metcalf, an outside, a true X receiver, is going to see some of the lightest coverage he's ever seen on the outside. And we know what that man could do in single coverage. He's going to see some of the most single coverage he's ever seen in his life.
Tyler Lockett on the opposite side.
Right. We know about Tyler Lockett, but now you have JSN in the middle of the field. DK is going to see some of the lightest coverage he's ever seen in his entire life. In his entire life.
Yes.
Right. Now you have a guy like Geno Smith who's coming off a career year. You have young offensive linemen there who are probably going to improve, which would help Geno Smith.
Yep.
Obviously, we all know Geno Smith, excellent in the first half of last season, not so much in the second half of the season. I see more of a middle ground there. I don't think he's going to be bad. I don't know if he'll reach what he reached in the first half of the season last year, but that's fine because DK Metcalf is that good. That dude is a physical specimen.
Currently wide receiver 15 in this.
Right. He's a wide
2.3 ADP, late 3rd round.
He's going behind a guy like Devontae Smith and T. Higgins, and those are guys who are really good wide receivers. T. Higgins is great. Devontae Smith is great. But those are guys those are the number 2s, no matter what.
Yep.
There's no scenario where those guys are the number 1. DK Metcalf, there's a scenario where he's the number 1 receiver on a top 5 offense in the NFL.
Yep.
So you draft that motherfucker. You draft him.
He's my wide receiver 10.
I mean, these guys, obviously, it's our list of guys we're drafting at their ADP. DK Metcalf is a guy I am trying to leave I'm drafting his ass in the 3rd.
Every draft.
As you could see, I'm sure for you guys too, the guys we have on this list are guys at different positions in this draft because these are guys that we're trying to leave every draft
with.
These 5 guys I'm trying to have these 5 guys on my team with every single draft.
Agreed.
Every single draft.
100%.
So
if I leave my drafts with these guys, I consider it a W.
100%.
A massive W of a draft.
Yeah, so DK is my guy.
This is crazy. I mean, took me so long to come up with five players to do this. Every single one of them has been named except for Debo Samuel.
Oh my God.
I mean,
oh boy.
yeah. So, but I think Debo Samuel they have him ranked at 38. And just like what Chris said, he's ranked below these
He's
T.
wide receiver
Higgins.
16 currently, by the way.
Yeah, wide receiver 16. But he's ranked below these guys like T. Higgins, like Devontae Smith. As Chris said, those are number 2s in an offense. You look at the 49ers and you look at McCaffrey, you look at Debo Samuel, you look at George Kittle. These are your
Ayuk.
Brandon Ayuk. But when you look at your wide receivers, there's a clear-cut number 1. And I feel like that's Debo Samuel.
So I pose this question. Who's the quarterback?
Me.
And I pose this other question. So many mouths to feed.
There is. But I feel like Debo has earned to get majority of the touches. And I think Brock Purdy, has earned that starting role.
If healthy.
If healthy, of course.
I don't even think it's, sorry to cut you off. I don't even think it's a thing about Debo like earning anything. I just think, I guess it is maybe about earning, but like that's your best chance to win. That guy is so good with the ball in his hands. You put the ball in his. Obviously, you have McCaffrey, you have Kittle. You want to get the ball. Yeah, you want to get the ball. Like all those guys can make plays, but like Debo Samuel can make plays.
Yeah, no,
like he
100%.
helps your, putting the ball in that guy's hands. It helps your chances of winning.
Yeah.
And when you do put the ball in that guy's hands, anything could happen.
There's a reason he was a running back for a lot of his fucking points.
Exactly.
The years of him being a running back are probably over with McCaffrey there. But that man, even in the passing game, like just put the ball in his hands and things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I like that pick, Ortiz.
Thank you.
Fair. Okay, so another guy. This is tough. Picking the order that I want to go in here. It doesn't really matter in the end because I'm gonna pick one main guy anyways. But for now, I'll take a guy that's currently has an ADP of 110.4. His teammate has been massively drafted. I believe his ADP is currently 55.1, which is middle of the 5th round. And he's a guy that was great at points in his career. And it seems as though he's kind of been forgotten because he's dealt with some injuries. If this offense is going to have as big of a bounce back as I expect it to have with obviously the addition of Sean Payton, and I think that gives you an idea of where I'm going with this. If this offense has the bounce back that we expect, Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton are 2 guys that I think are going to have phenomenal seasons, especially with Russell Wilson. I think Courtland Sutton, especially given the body type and the type of receiver that he is similar to DK Metcalf, whereas Russell Wilson had a ton of success with a guy like DK Metcalf. So I think if Courtland Sutton is just healthy and Russell Wilson is just, I don't know, better than last year, we'd have to hope, then I think Courtland Sutton's going to have a big season. Personally, 6'4", incredible hands. Courtland Sutton's my guy. I think he's a guy that is going to absolutely demolish 9th round expectations in fantasy football. Go get Courtland Sutton.
I gave up on him. I really did. I feel like for 3 years now we've been saying, you draft Courtland Sutton, he's going too late, and then he's probably going at just about the middle bear. And the 3 little bears, Goldilocks and the 3 bears. They're just
about
right. He's just about right, Courtland Sutton, where he gets drafted every year.
I don't know, man. It's so tough.
I would love to see that motherfucker go off, man. I rock with Courtland Sutton. He's a damn good player. He has that big body build like a guy like DK Metcalf. I kind of gravitate towards those type of receivers, like a Mike Williams.
Yeah, I was incorrect. He didn't have 1,300. He had 1,100 in 2019, which is a long time
ago.
Yeah,
but a lot of injuries in between there.
That's a long time, especially in football years.
I would be, that's a guy who I'm probably not drafting, but like if I make it to my fantasy championship and that's the guy who beats me,
so be it.
I'd be sad, but I'd be happy for him.
It's like, wow. Courtland Sutton was healthy.
It happened.
I'd be happy for the guy. I want to see that motherfucker succeed. Like I really do.
Courtland Sutton. I love him.
He had so much potential. Like it was there. It really was there.
And then he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
The year after he had 1,100 receiving yards.
Yeah. So my number 2 guy that I'm drafting no matter what. So this depends on my draft strategy because we're going to see the rounds are a little bit messed up here in terms of the guys I picked. But Aaron Jones at an ADP of 40.8. You get Aaron Jones in the 4th round. I mean, this is a year where dudes are taking receivers early. People are taking receivers early. So I'm going to try and take my receivers early. If I could get Aaron Jones to be my RB1 in the 4th round, I am content. Aaron Jones is going behind a guy like Ken Walker, a rookie in Jahmyr Gibbs, a guy like Travis Etienne, who we don't know if he could be a 3-down back, a guy like Najee Harris, who was inefficient as hell last year. Those are 4 guys who I'm drafting Aaron Jones over confidently, and I'm content with it. Aaron Jones, we know what he could do in the pass catching game. He's an efficient runner of the ball. He has a new quarterback there who's probably going to be looking to him as a safety blanket. So Aaron Jones, as Drew said in our running back rankings videos, he's going to be a fantasy dream this year. So Aaron Jones is a guy I'm definitely looking to draft.
Agreed. You guys definitely talked me up on Aaron Jones now, which is why I'm so high on him now. Kind of changed my entire mind, you and Drew. But go ahead, Ortiz. Did you try to figure another one out?
Just go.
Yeah? Okay. All right. So I mentioned him before, drafted him in Dynasty. One of the 2 remaining guys. I'm not going to pick him as my primary guy because I'm saving a big one for that one. But anyways, late 7th round, 81 ADP. It's George Pickens. Him and Kenny Pickett seem to have some sort of chemistry there down the stretch. He wasn't getting a crazy target share, but he has everything in the mold of an ex-receiver, and I think it's just going to happen this season with Kenny Pickett. I think the 2 of them are going to develop together, continuously improve together, and George Pickens is going to turn into everything that we could imagine him being. I actually had him ranked as wide receiver 19, and it was very high. Definitely the highest of anyone on this podcast by a significant margin. But I'm a firm believer in George Pickens. Some of the best hands in the league, one of the best contested catch players in the entire league. And not only that, he's a deep ball threat every single play. So I just think it's absolutely a must-have in fantasy football in the 7th round for him to potentially go off and be wide receiver 1 caliber for all we know. So I think George Pickens is a guy that you absolutely need to have in fantasy football. Who you got, Chris? Okay, here we go. Who is one player you would absolutely draft at their current average draft? Who is one player you would absolutely draft at their current ADP?
So the guy for me is a 4th-year wide receiver in the AFC North, a Pittsburgh Steeler, and that is Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson's last 3 years, 144 targets in 2020, 169 targets in 2021, and 147 targets in 2022. And if you look at his PPR finishes, 2020 he finished as the 21st wide receiver, 2021 the 8th, a wide receiver 1, and then 2022 the wide receiver 30. But the thing about 2022 was he didn't score a single receiving touchdown. The man got 147 targets, only caught 86 of them. So 60 balls were thrown in his direction that he didn't bring in a catch. And he scored 0 touchdowns. So I just have to expect his catch percentage to increase and the number of touchdowns to increase. Yep. You know, if we're looking at Deontay, we know Deontay Johnson is going to see 140 targets. Yep. That's a lock. So if I have Deontay Johnson with an improved second-year quarterback in Kenny Pickett, and I get 100 receptions from him and 4 touchdowns, that's at least a wide receiver 2. And this dude is going at an ADP of 77.3.
It's crazy.
He's going in the middle of the 7th round right now.
It's crazy that he's going that late when every opportunity that he's had in his career, the 2 seasons prior, he was incredible in fantasy football. And as you said, positive touchdown regression has to happen. Not having any the year before is incredible to me. And I don't know how that's even possible when you have 140 targets. I don't know if that's ever been done in fantasy football, to be completely honest. I'm curious to look that up at some point. But 140 targets and not a single touchdown is crazy. There's definitely positive touchdown regression coming his way. And I think Kenny Pickett's going to improve a ton. So I'm expecting that to be a
Like he was
better
still the
offense.
wide receiver 30. So he was a wide receiver 3. This is a wide receiver
Mid-tier
3.
wide receiver 3,
That's
yeah.
his absolute floor. His absolute floor. You're drafting him in the middle of the 7th round. His absolute floor is a wide receiver 3.
Yep.
That's a guy who probably, in my opinion, I think he's a lock to at least be a wide receiver 2 with legit wide receiver 1 upside.
Agreed.
That's a guy who, if he gets 110 plus receptions and 8 to 10 plus touchdowns, he's a wide receiver 1 easily.
By far.
Yeah.
By far. Do you have?
My big player was Alan Lazard, and I kind of let off with him. I didn't know we're saving the big one for last, so we could use the power of editing. And
Yeah, I got
Okay,
you.
Yeah,
fair
I got
enough.
you.
All right. I'm going to go with a deep sleeper. And I had to because he's a Giant and I love him. So people have been talking about how the Giants don't have many weapons right now. Former 6th round pick, claimed him off waivers last year from the Buffalo Bills, came to a coaching staff and a GM that drafted him. And look, I love him. Isaiah Hodgins, he cooked Patrick Peterson in the playoffs last year with a fractured ankle, went for 8 catches, 105 yards, had a touchdown, all that. The man, once he came to the Giants through 10 games, he ended up with only around 50 targets. Not a crazy amount, but as the season continued to go on, Daniel Jones and Isaiah Hodgins showed a different level of chemistry. He's 6'3" and an incredible route runner. And I just feel like there's no way that he fails. The opportunity should be there. Darren Waller is going to take a bunch of pressure off this offense in general if he stays healthy, who is another guy that you could potentially get for good value in your drafts. But I think Isaiah Hodgins is going to be a guy where I think it's entirely possible he ends up with 100 targets, if not a little bit more. I think there's the opportunity for that to happen in this offense. I think he's good enough to make that happen in this offense. And look, with your last pick in the draft, he's one of the best flyers that you could have in the entire in all of fantasy football. So I think he's absolutely a guy that you should take your chance on with the last pick in your fantasy drafts. And look, he could turn into a guy that's a low-end wide receiver too. And with that type of pick, absolutely worth it. So there it is. Isaiah Hodgins is my guy, my absolute guy.
Before we continue, do you guys want to save the guys we're not drafting for a later podcast?
We can. It's late.
It's fucking late, and I'm fucking tired.
1:11 in the.
We could definitely do that in a future episode.
Because I'll do this little thing we have. We could even skip the jersey thing if we want. I'm fucking tired.
We're definitely
bro.
skipping the jersey thing.
Fucking tired.
I felt that was an obvious one. We're definitely skipping the jersey thing.
All right, I'll do this real quick. Madden 24 just dropped their official ratings. People feel how they want to feel about the Madden ratings. They're good, they're bad.
I hate you, Madden.
Most people say they're bad, but guess this NFL team based on their starting offenses, Madden 24 ratings. That was good.
Yeah,
that was very cool.
And are we doing just skill positions, or are we doing the first?
I'm not going to do the O-line. I'm going to do the quarterback, 2 receivers, a running back, and a tight end.
Yeah, let's do it, Shelly.
We got this, man.
So this team's starting quarterback is a 74 overall.
Okay.
I should probably
write
write
this
this down.
We both.
All right, cool.
All
Yeah.
right. The running back is an 80 overall. The wide receiver 1 is an 82 overall.
I already know what team this is.
I think I have a feeling.
The wide receiver 2 is an 80 overall.
Ooh.
And the tight end is an 81 overall.
Maybe I don't.
Who are you thinking?
I was originally thinking the New England Patriots.
That's not a bad guess.
Which criminally underrated at 80 would be Ramondre Stevenson, but
But if Juju's number 1, do you think Juju's an 80?
who is their number 2 right now? Yes, I think Juju's an 82. He had a good season.
He did. But you never know, Madden. They could have put him at a 54. So
For doing TikTok dances.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is their wide receiver 2? Oh my God. Look that up if you can, please. Oh my God. I should know this too. I'm just disappointed in myself. And who's their tight end? Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry would be an 81. That's not a terrible idea.
It's Juju, Devontae Parker is listed as
Is
their
Devontae Parker an 80 overall in Madden? Because if he is, that's fucking garbage. But I'm going to guess the New England Patriots.
The New England Patriots are correct.
Let's go. That's terrible. What are these ratings?
You knew it from the jump, too.
What are these ratings, man?
All right.
Garbage.
All right. The next team, they have a 70 overall quarterback.
Oh, shit.
The Giants.
No, shut up. I knew you were going to say that.
They have an 81 overall running back.
Okay.
Their wide receiver 1 is an 80 overall.
Jesus Christ, this is horrible.
Their wide receiver 2 is a 74 overall. And their tight end is an 87.
So a very good tight end. I'm trying to think.
It's
Premier
okay.
tight
So
ends.
the best tight ends in the league.
It's obviously not Kelsey.
Wait.
It's not going to be the.
I know exactly who it is. It's the Atlanta Falcons.
It is indeed the Atlanta Falcons.
Wow.
Hopefully defense will be more difficult when we do that. Like and follow to see defense.
All right. At a future episode. Wow, that was
Wow.
nice, man.
Good job,
baby.
I said words.
I was like, wait a second.
I said,
Who the fuck is
that's a
this?
good one. Oh, good guess, Sullivan.
Oh my god. Anyways, shout out to our sponsors over at SeatGeek before we get into anything. SeatGeek makes buying tickets incredibly easy as they rate each deal on a scale of 1 to 10, with green being a good deal and red being a bad deal. If you use our code BallGame, wow, that was a really bad voice crack, but we're gonna keep rolling. If you use our code BallGamePod, you get $20 off your first purchase with SeatGeek. Again, that is BallGamePod. Use that code, $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Thank you guys so much over to all the guys. I can't English right now. It's too late. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you to everyone over at SeatGeek for partnering up with us. We really do appreciate you guys. I really messed that one up, and I hope I don't mess this outro up as much as I just did with that. But please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Follow us on all of our socials. Watch the videos prior this past weekend. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I said that already, but anyways, with that.
BallGame.